And just like that, you snap your fingers and you go boom, and all the channel is lit up, man. We're all here. We're all ready to light this Monday on fire. This is the day that sets the tone for the rest of the week. So get up, get your ass in gear, because we're coming at you live. Good morning, fellas.
Great morning. I can tell that you've been up since 4 o'clock, not only because you and I were going back and forth on email, but your energy is at 1,000 right now. So I know you had a great weekend. I know you're clear. I know you got to go work out. I can tell the morning routine is in full effect.
Well, sometimes you got to go back to basics. I talk about this all the time. And for whatever reason, I know people say, it got a little cold. I stayed off the beach. I haven't been on the beach running. And I did a beach run yesterday, actually ran to the beach and then ran on the beach. And there's nothing like it. The environment, the setting, everything about it was just mind blowing. I had clarity yesterday beyond any day that I've had in recent memory. All of the things that have happened in January, I got a chance to think through, and I feel $1 million. And then you and I had a big GIF game this morning. I mean, it was gold.
It was awesome. And a shout out to Greg Goldstein.
You're here too? All right. What's up?
Shout out to Greg, because obviously Monday's important. We're starting the week off, but I wrapped the week up last week with an unbelievable week. So shout out to Crispy Ruiz, who helped me finish the week with a great introduction, and Andrew Lee, who closed the week up for me, and a great coffee with Greg Goldstein, and just awesome stuff going on. And then we are back in the studio this morning because we are first and goal with Get on the Ball, and super excited for how close it is. We'll continue to tease it, but I'm letting you guys know right now it is right around the corner, and it is super exciting for what's happening.
So before we jump into the wake-up music, let's talk about a couple of things that are going on. Tom Brady's playing a Super Bowl in his own building, man. I mean, come on.
First quarterback ever. First quarterback ever. So, crazy to catch up on what happened, obviously, with, Hank Aaron and Larry King passing away this weekend. But I think, somebody texted me right away. Well, I guess that solves the question of, was it Bill or was it Brady? And I'm not jumping to that conclusion. I'm not taking anything away from Bill Belichick.
Whoa. So I was listening to Keyshawn this morning, and he's like, let's call it what it is. Tampa's stacked with talent. There was never a New England team that had that kind of talent. So when you look back, you really could say his greatest achievement was probably coming back and winning the Super Bowl when it was 28-3.
Sure.
Not his greatest achievement, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I think if you listen to Bruce Arians at the end of the trophy ceremony last night, he said, why was it so important to get Tom here? He said, because Tom gave everybody the belief that we could do this. I knew we could do it. He said, but Tom gave everybody the belief that they could do it. And that's what the difference is. It's not necessarily that he did something extraordinary. People know that he's a proven winner, and he created a belief in the building.
So I'm going to check you there. I'm going to say what he provided was extraordinary. When you could step in and provide that kind of mindset, leadership is not only the physical shit you do, it's the mental stuff, man. And if he can provide that, I think it sets him apart. Obviously, condolences to Larry King, just so we shouted out 5 decades of interviewing people, 50,000 entertainers, presidents. Woo! So unfortunately, he has a relationship with one of our clients, the guys from Omega XL. So big shout out, condolences to all the people that knew him and worked with him. We did talk about Hank Aaron. And then Shay, put up the graphic again. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about. Obviously we talked football. So I have more, but why don't we do this? Why don't we go right into wake up music, and I'll do a little bit more. Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Come on! Wake up, everybody! Teach a new way. Maybe then there's
have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in there. No more back to thinking. Time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
All right, before we get going, I love that music. I've got a couple of things I want to talk about. Number one, had dinner with Ed and Tracy Dykes on Friday night at Hard Rock, visited the store, hung out with Jesse for a little bit. Those are some of the greatest people on this planet. They are solid human beings. Please support them in what they do because, I mean, they're like my second family, man. They are. I'm serious, man. I had such a great time with them. So shout out to all of them. Shay, show me my the comic about Clubhouse. So
I've gotten a lot of invites to Clubhouse. I can tell you that.
Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what where you spend your time. I did jump in to a conversation this weekend. Dale Dupree was there. Larry King was there. I offered some sort of direction, if you will, and people were very appreciative. But if people are doing that 24 hours a day, you are not focused on moving the needle. And so I say, be careful. And then the third thing, which I think is unbelievable, Shay, show me the meme. What happened here? what happened here, man?
It's awesome. I think, it's amazing that, first of all, it's a great image. I mean, he looks like everybody's grandfather who's, got 8,000 other things to do and doesn't want to be there. But the way they've imposed it into so many different images and the way you see it showing up everywhere, it is a good redirect from the political social media that has been previously. So it's good to see everybody having fun with social media again.
Really, seriously, some of the things he's showing up in are like really, really amazing. So I want to go into motivational music because above our theme song, this is what I want you to do this week. Shay, give me music. So you cannot go wrong kicking off a Monday with Bowie, man. And here's the funny thing about today. Today is National Opposite Day. So for all of you who are barely just getting up, barely getting into a meeting, and I know nobody in the huddle is that, but I know you see people, do the opposite and dance your ass in that meeting. You start dancing and watch what people happen, man. You pick up the tempo and get it going. So on National Opposite Day, it is on January, we celebrate a fun day of switcheroos. Good morning, is it good night? Is it goodbye? I'm cold, am I hot? Whatever. Nobody explains it better than George Costanza.
Yeah, I should do the opposite. I should.
If every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite would have to be right.
Yes, I will do the opposite. I used to sit here and do nothing and regret it for the rest of the day. So now I will do the opposite and I will do something. Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice that you were looking in my direction.
Oh, yes, I was. You just ordered the same exact lunch as me.
My name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents.
I'm Victoria. Hi.
Transparency.
So
authenticity and transparency always win.
So here's what's so great is that, if we're thinking opposites, fear or call reluctant would mean, absolute strength and nail it, let's go, so
Yeah.
it's a way of training. George, show me more.
I tell you, you are the complete opposite of every applicant we've seen. Mr. Steinbrenner, sir. There's someone here I'd like you to meet. This is Mr. Costanza. He's one of the applicants.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I wish I could say the same, but I must say, with all due respect, I find it very hard to see the logic behind some of the moves you have made with this fine organization. In the past 20 years, you have caused myself and the city of New York a good deal of distress, as we have watched you take our beloved Yankees and reduce them to a laughingstock, all for the glorification of your massive ego.
Hire this man.
So good.
I was so excited when I saw that it was this day because, it's random. I have Mondays, and most of the time, at least in January, there have not been any really good days. National Opposite Day happens to be something that I'm working on with every single client. I am writing more and more about this because I think people's compulsion, if that's a word, is as we drive into January, I got to learn more. I got to do more. I got to continue to upskill. And so my conversation today with you, Mark, which we've been in this already, we're going to share it with people, is I don't think it's so much that you need to learn. What do I need to do, Mark?
You got to unlearn, but I think it's a combination, right? So in order to learn, you need to unlearn, because until you accept the fact that you might be wrong, or the game might have changed, or there might be a better way of doing something, till you accept that reality and you're willing to unlearn the things that in your mind you know for sure, you got no chance at really adopting anything new or taking in any advice or new information to really help yourself develop. So the part of unlearning in order to be able to learn and upskill is so critical.
So, I like to think of the brain as a storage closet. If you got stuff stored in there, and I was talking to a client the other day and I said, the song by Eminem, which could have been my song today, which was basically, clean out your closet. If that's a storage closet, you got to clean out old thinking. And one of the biggest challenges with LinkedIn, and I'm fortunate, we got a bunch of law firms that have recently come on board. And in working with them, we're having conversations about, stuff that is so foreign to them. They are completely like, wait a minute. And I gave them the analogy. I said, listen, this is like me coming in and saying, hey, listen, starting tomorrow, you're not going to breathe anymore. It's all you know. It's so in your DNA. It's so what you do, because people, especially when it comes to behavior in LinkedIn, are all about, show up and throw up. So it's now I have some bunch of content here. I want to let you comment.
I'm going to reference this real quick. I'm going to reference this because when we talk about unlearning, I'm going to flip to the forward, and in the forward, which I happen to have written, I talk about in here, I said, why is change hard? I said, it makes us uncomfortable. Change is often different. It feels foreign. It creates fear, because when we change, we are shifting from what we know to what we don't know, and we don't have the answers. And I think that's the hardest part for people in learning something new, especially when you've spent years doing things a certain way, which is the sales game. Like, if you look at every sales movie that's ever been created, all of the classics, all the way up to Boiler Room, which is relatively recent, it's all built on this fundamental that as a salesperson, you have to be a killer, and you have to go after taking advantage of people because you know more than they do, and you can take advantage of them. The reality is that the game is different.
So every single thing that we are teaching people, upskilling, has an opposite behavior that needs to be shut down, and so it's really focusing on not doing that. People's inclination is to leave a voicemail or an email. That is so ingrained in what they do. that new behavior like video comes along, and I see this all the time. I could have sent, because I review stuff with my client. I could, well, in order to do that, you almost have to really, take it and flush everything and just say, I can't do that. So in all the studying and all the writing that I'm doing about this, I came up with this: how to unlearn. Unlearn is to make an effort to forget your usual way of doing something so that you can learn a new way, and in most cases, a better and more efficient way. So, if I asked you to tie your shoes, you're tying your shoes the same way. If I said, listen, you have to do it reversed, you'd go, what are you talking about? I already, So I wanted to get into this a little deeper, and I have other stuff that learning to unlearn. Here are the 5 things that we could unlearn, whether it be in school. I mean, because let's face it, there are 3 types of unlearning: personal, professional, and social. Personal is, why do we want what we want? What are we afraid of? Professional, why do we follow certain processes? And social, why do we work? Why do we eat animals? Why does racism exist? All here.
It goes back to making the decision that you're going to self-evaluate, that you're going to have some self-awareness, and you're going to think about the things that you do, not just do them because that's the way it's always been done. And for us, when we talk about prioritization, when I'm working with my clients, I have them work in 2 different buckets: professional and personal. What are the top priorities professionally? What are the top priorities personally? Then we move to their calendar and we say, okay, are the things that are on your calendar in line with those priorities? They are or they aren't. Well, it's the same way as you're going through trying to unlearn things or figuring out what you need to do in order to adapt to change to be successful, as you're looking at it in those buckets. Why are we doing the things that we're doing right here? Do they still make sense in today's world? And look, we're going into the studio this morning to film marketing emails, true commercials, right? But as hard as it is for me to step into that role to write the outline for the commercial, I didn't want it to be a traditional commercial. But it's so easy to fall into that. Oh, let me see if I can grab somebody right here and get back to what am I doing here to give value to somebody and get them to go further down the rabbit hole with us. And that to me is hard to do. I just did it and it's hard.
I think you're right. I mean, Alvin Toffler, who's a writer, once wrote, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and then here's the takeaway, here's the opposite, relearn." You have to relearn what to do. So I sort of want to go through some of these. Are we still live? Because my feed just went.
Says it's still. I mean, at least StreamYard says we're still
great,
live.
Fantastic. Okay, because my LinkedIn just went out. Number 1, fear of mistakes. In the real world, we learn from our mistakes. That's okay. So we were always told, stay away from mistakes. Boom, 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 boom. Yes. Look for mistakes. Yes. What can we learn from going down that road? So I love that. And that happens in school. And a lot of what I have related to people recently. Oh, good. Thank you, Neil. Neil Solomon's here today. Good morning and welcome aboard the Huddle. In school, we used to go to school and you'd go to a home period. The bell would ring and you'd go 8 different times during the day. You'd create new activities, social studies, chemistry, gym. Well, what about that in your regular day? We talk about routines that are sometimes, people say, I got a routine that's, I'm totally into a routine. I said, well, share your routine with me. And I get home every night, have a 6-pack of beer and a bag of donuts. Guess what, man? That's not a good routine, man. You got to unlearn that. So.
And so the second one is fit in, right? Like, so people and growing up, you're rewarded for coloring inside the lines and doing things the way the teacher instructs you to do them. But as you get out of that structured development system and you're on your own, you actually get rewarded for thinking outside of the box. And this is where I ran into a lot of brick walls in the coaching profession, because when you start to challenge the norm, the first thing people are going to say to you is, well, it's worked for 40 years. Why would we change it now?
Right. Unbelievable. That's it. Most expensive words are, that's just the way we do it here.
It's worked for 40 years, so why would we change it now? Well, because 40 years ago, the game was different than the game that we play in today. So things have to adapt and change with it. So understanding that you have to be willing to challenge the norm, think differently, that will get you more rewards in the long run, and that will help you unlearn the things that you think you know and continue to push forward with new learnings.
This is one of my favorites. Today just zipped. So let's close with this thought. We were always taught to wait for permission. You need, it's wait for instruction. Oh, somebody will tell you where to go and what to do. The leaders, the people who have left an impact in this life that we know, Larry King left an impact because he didn't wait to get instructions. He blazed the trail. When I got into LinkedIn 6 years ago, I didn't have one idea what I was doing. I had fear of looking like a moron. You were busting my balls because of what I had already done on Facebook. Dad, you don't belong in social media. I'm serious. Let's call it what it is. I drove down that path and said, I'll figure it out at the risk of, failing. Oh, look at that. Two of them tied together. So for me, it was all about saying, okay, I'm not waiting for permission. You don't need permission.
Or instruction. Or instruction
in your life. Go figure it out. Find out how to do something, because you find out by taking the steps and making.
You'll learn more by doing it that way than having somebody give you a how-to on it and then just trying to copy exactly what they did. Just start doing it and you'll learn.
I'll leave you with this person. First of all, Devin Newton, thank you for that great content today. We work hard, to put this stuff out there. This is what we do here. Invite your friends, do all of that stuff. But, I'll leave you with this about Clubhouse. I don't know if Clubhouse is the greatest thing since sliced bread or it's nothing. It's complete gibberish. But I will tell you, if you're spending 8 hours a day there and you can't show me real production, people say, well, there's a lot of people in there. And I see people in there, I get alerts. Same people are in there all the time, commanding attention, but they're not getting anything done. You know what? I can show you in 50 minutes what you can do in LinkedIn, and I bet you can't do that in Clubhouse. So be careful. I'm not saying good or bad. I went in there. It was very entertaining, but I got lost for an hour. I said 2 comments. I blew smoke up my own ass. Wow, look at me. Shit. But the reality is it was non-productive. The same conversations are happening LinkedIn, one-to-one, not one in a room. There's follow-up. There's, content being done. So I tell you, be careful. Follow your own path. Don't wait for instructions. Do what you need to do to be successful. And baby, let's dance.